Thank you, TJ. Good morning. The April 15th, 2020 special call meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. Please let me start by saying to every citizen in Douglas County, I hope and pray you and your family are doing well amidst this coronavirus pandemic. 4 weeks ago, the Board of Commissioners concurred with my decision to call a state of an emergency for Douglas County as we grapple with one of the most catastrophic viruses in modern history. In spite of it all, prayer prevails at a time such as this when we have many citizens, symptomatic and asymptomatic, recovering from COVID 19. And sadly, we have lost 6 citizens to COVID 19 as of today. And I will request our own Commissioner Carthen to pray for our county, our state, our nation, and all our global partners. Commissioner Carthen, would you please render prayer for us?
Okay. If our hearts and minds are clear, let us go to the throne. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord God, for it is a day that you have created. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. Let us be mindful, Lord God, that those around the world, even close to our homes, Lord God, are suffering. Let us not forget, Lord God, that you have put us in a position, Lord God, to help those. Let us be mindful, Lord God, that even in the midst of this, you hold all of us in your hands. Let us be reminded, therefore, as God's chosen people, you have called us forth at this appointed time to be set aside and to be dearly loved, clothed with humility, clothed in our right minds, and clothed to lead this generation and this nation. Let us be ever mindful of the task that you have given us. And let us be ever mindful, Lord God, to ask you for the wisdom to make the decisions, Lord God, that will affect not only ourselves, but those, Lord God, that you have asked us to serve. Help us, O Lord, to be mindful that in all things we do, let us get understanding and let us give you honor, glory, and power. It is in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Commissioner Carthen, thank you so much. Board of Commissioners, if we could just extend just a few seconds to honor our citizens who have been deceased during this COVID-19, and also to pay respect to their families and express our condolences. If you just give us just one moment of silence, please, or a few minutes of silence. Thank you, Board of Commissioners, and thank you to the citizens of Douglas County. Commissioners, I value your time and talent and appreciate your due diligence for consideration of hazardous pay for our frontline and first responder employees during this unprecedented coronavirus pandemic. By and large, the harsh light of the COVID-19 exposes the crumbling fault lines in the foundation of all our frontline workers and first responders. And I realize sacrifice cannot be sufficiently compensated. However, in fact, I vetted numerous counties and cities offering hazardous pay to frontline and first responders and discovered there is not a one size fit all formula. Budgets are volatile across the entire nation, and Douglas County is not exempt. And I realize that. So I am bringing a proposal before you this morning regarding hazardous pay that yields a temporary incentive pay for our frontline and first responders who are putting their lives in harm's way with this invisible virus while serving the citizens of Douglas County. Board of Commissioners, I presume you've had an opportunity to review the hazardous pay proposal. Mark Teal has updated it because I wanted to make sure that everything was on this proposal, that you could look at it and make sure that everything was distinguished in a manner which you could understand the total impact, because all the impact will not be geared toward the general fund. We have some other buckets of money based on the employee type or their position or either the category that they fall in. The monies will be coming out of that bucket. For example, E911 and also our UNEAP fund. So with that being said, I wanted to just just say a few things before we get started, and then allow the Board of Commissioners and Mark Teal to come in first and just share the spreadsheet with you, explain what the proposal looked like. And again, like I said, I appreciate your concurrence and support along the way of this journey. This has been 4 weeks, but it feels like 4 months, and I know all of our citizens, I appreciate your patience and your understanding during this time. All of us are in this together, and we will get through this. I just would like to start by saying that all our employees have stepped up to the plate, and Douglas County government is running in a seamless manner. I commend all the employees who have pivoted and moved to a technology type telecommuting process into their homes so we could practice social distancing, and also to make sure that we are adhering to the shelter in place order that's before us. I commend the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches of Douglas County government for working in a unified and a cohesive manner to allow us to adjust to what I call a new normal associated with the COVID-19. I appreciate the massive scale up of, again, like I just mentioned, telecommunications, telecommuting, and also the robust use of the 21st century technology. And I would like to thank our information system, Russ Martin and his team, for helping us do that. This administration fully understands the sensitivity and the urgency of this unprecedented moment and this virus, and we have taken extraordinary measures to make accommodations to minimize the impact for this moment for all the citizens here in Douglas County. This administration has led efforts of suspending water, electric and gas and gas connections throughout the county on a case-by-case basis. And I thank Greystone Power and Georgia Power and WSA and our other carriers for working to assist us during this time. Also Comcast and also AT&T for stepping up to the plate. We initiated necessary action to halt evictions throughout this entire county, starting with our Housing Development Authority, which has about 250 units. And then also we cast a wide net to contact our magistrate court and our sheriff department to make sure that we all on board with halting evictions. But however, for our homeowners, I encourage you to please reach out to your mortgage companies, and if you need some type of relief, they are waiting anxiously for you to give them a call. We stepped up our Board of Commissioners, and we have led efforts with our homeless population. We've appropriated $10,000 for food and hand sanitizer and other supplies needed for our homeless at a time such as this. And we're willing to extend when that time arises. Judge Bo McClain is leading this effort, and I commend him for assisting our homeless, and Mr. Charles Branson as well for helping provide health and support for our homeless at this time. We have equipped our small businesses with imperative information regarding disaster relief fund and grant funding. And also we are reaching out, we are casting a wider net. And when I talk about those small businesses, federal funding, small business loans availabilities through the banks here locally in Douglas County. And also we've taken the time to discuss and provide information to allow them to get started on the application process. We've cast a wider net, and we've reached out to our faith-based organizations in meeting with Congressman Scott last week. They talked about some availability to our faith-based organization as far as this pandemic is concerned. So we're getting information out to those organizations to allow them to apply for anything that's available to our faith-based organizations at this time. Also, just wanted to mention that we've activated, certainly we rolled out the red carpet for our seniors, and that's the way it should be. They've paid their dues, and we're making sure that they received all the things that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, the Meals on Wheels and the non-medical emergency transport, and also the public engagement piece from activities. But I've received notification from ARC, Atlanta Regional Commission, this past week that there will be federal funding coming down, and Douglas County is eligible for our seniors again for the Wheels on Meals from the Older Americans Act. So I'm real excited about that, and I shared that with you all in my latest update. And then Friday, we opened up a COVID testing. We are one of COVID testing site. We are one of 31 sites in the state of Georgia out of 159 counties. That's a huge milestone for Douglas County. It allows our citizens to get real-time, on-the-spot testing without traveling so far for testing. And I would be remiss to not mention about the communication that our communications department and our external affairs department has definitely rendered to touch the public, to allow them to engage with my up-to-the-minute updates, and also basically everything that we have in terms of COVID-19, our hub site, which all the information, we've inundated our citizens with information, and I will continue to do so on a weekly basis. The coronavirus, we are just, and I'm still urging our citizens to make sure that they do 3 things or 4 things now. Make sure that your hands are clean. Make sure your surfaces, metal surfaces, and then understand plastic as well. All your surfaces are wiped down with a disinfectant type wipe. And then also utilize your mask. That's very important. That's been new. That's been added. And also, please practice social distancing. So the reason why we're here, and I want to certainly get back to the reason why we're here, I want to chat with you and let you know that I've had numerous teleconference meetings with the White House. I have a meeting today with the White House. Had an opportunity to speak. President Trump spoke to the commission chairman and the mayors across the state last week. Met with Congressman Scott, Senator Perdue, and our state legislation, Homeland Security, our city officials, Cobb and Douglas Public Health, our epidemiologists, doctors and physicians, trying to see what I can do to put Douglas County up front and let the citizens know that we're advocating. This administration we have not missed a beat, and we are advocating along the way to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 in Douglas County. But of course, we have to be sensitive to our other surrounding counties so we could all be on the same page. This is, again, I mentioned, is a marathon and not a sprint. But the purpose of our meeting today, Board of Commissioners, and certainly I would love for you all to chime in. We're here, I'm proposing hazardous pay for our frontline employees. We've made concessions for probably about 65% of our employees are working from home. So this administration has stepped up to the plate, and we've done quite a bit. But this hazardous pay piece, I'm going to ask Mark Teal if he could chime in. And Mark, do you have a spreadsheet so we can just share with the Board of Commissioners what the proposal looked like, and then allow them to ask questions and weigh in? Mark Teal, would you please?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I'd like to read the proposal. So as of right now, the proposal is $200 per pay period as hazard pay for all frontline employees, including E911 and Sheriff's Office dispatchers. So frontline employees consist of employees who come in direct contact with the public who are unable to practice social distancing and are therefore possibly exposed to COVID-19, which is the coronavirus. So right now we have numbers that have been submitted by all the departments. Those numbers will be vetted as far as whether or not those employees can or cannot practice social distancing. So worst case scenario, what we're looking at is, so for $200 per pay period, it's right at $117,000 per pay period. It consists of 547 employees, and I do expect that number to go down over the next, hopefully, couple of days. We'll have all the information from the department heads. So the proposal is for 8 weeks. It's a little bit more than 8 weeks. So it would be proposed to be retro back to March 16th, which is when the emergency declaration was signed by the chairman. So the 16th through the 20th is 4 days. That would be just 4 days on that pay period. And then 8 weeks would take us to May 15th, which is 2 days after, I think, the governor's executive order. But this is not tied to the executive order. So it's approximately 8 weeks total cost for those 8 weeks, maximum would be $529,000, and I do expect the number to go down. So general fund, $412,000. Uninked fund, $9,689. Enterprise fund, $2,907. E911, right at $32,000. Fire and EMS fund, right at $65,000. And animal control fund, $7,700 approximately. That's if we go the 8 weeks plus the 4 days of that one pay period all the way to May 15th.
Okay, Mark, are you finished?
Yes, and again, I do expect the number to go down. We will look at the job duties of every employee that was submitted, and if social distancing can be attained, then they would not be included.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, I certainly want to open up the floor for discussion. Please, if you could just state your name if you have a comment or want to chime in. Only commissioner I see right now is Commissioner Carthen. Any comment from the Board of Commissioners?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Guider.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioner.
I just want to ask Mark questions. So what we're voting on today is just the authorization for what you and the chair to vet this list. Is that correct?
Yes. Would it be authorization?
You keep saying it's going to go down. So who's going to be striking the employees off the list? I guess it's
so right now, Frederick is obtaining the information, and if there are employees that are included on the current list that can perform their job duties while social distancing, then they would be excluded from the list.
Okay, there's several departments on here. So what departments are opened in the courthouse? Because there's a lot of courthouse offices on this list. Do you know?
Yes. So in the courthouse, you got clerk of court, magistrate court, purchasing mail. The building department is closed to the public, but we are performing inspections daily for residential, commercial, and industrial inspections. Felony drug court's not in the code.
I'm just asking, so these departments are open and have been open since March the 16th?
No, they are closed to the public, but they are all still working. And some of them are working, some of them are out in the field. They don't come into the office, but they're in the field.
What about like the courts? There are several courts on here. Have they been open to the public?
Yes, it's my understanding the courts are open and clerk of court is open.
Okay. But not everybody comes in close contact with the public. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So what we're voting on today is simply to allow y'all to continue to scrutinize this list. And
yes, so it would be you'd be voting to approve $200 per pay period for approximately 8 weeks, which is up until May 15th, for hazard pay for all frontline employees. Frontline employees consist of employees who come in direct contact with the public and are not able to practice social distancing doing these job duties and are therefore possibly exposed to COVID-19.
so I guess I'm asking, this list, you keep saying it will probably go down. So y'all will determine what the final list will be, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happens after that? When you compile your list, your final list, will y'all be coming back to the board for a vote, a final vote on the funds, or this is it?
No, ma'am, we were hoping the vote was today. What we have to do is we have to set up a separate pay. Actually, it's not called a pay item, but anyway, so when you get your check, you've got health benefits listed. You have, all the different deductions that are listed in your check. So there will be a separate deduction for hazard pay. And I've been working with Jennifer and Frederick on this. As far as the name, I don't know what that is yet, but we'll figure that out. So it would be included in their normal check. But yes, we would go, Frederick and I are working currently right now. We've been receiving information from departments. We have not received everything. And we will be looking at every employee and their job duties with their respective department head.
So all we're voting on today is the $200 per week, pay period, I'm sorry, and the hazard pay for frontline employees. Right?
Yes, and
We're
frontline
not
employees.
voting on the final cost of this at all. So that's going to be determined by y'all, I guess.
Yes, that's correct. But I am telling you that the estimated cost right now, which I expect it to be lower, is $529,961. And it's separated out by
coming out of
fund.
general fund.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
With 412 coming out of our general fund. The rest of it's enterprises and other funds.
Yes, ma'am. And I do expect the numbers to decrease.
Okay.
So this would be the maximum.
All right, I yield back. I just want to be clear what we're voting on.
Yeah, Commissioner Guida, I appreciate the question. We're voting on giving the authority to pay $200 per pay period for our first line responders and frontline employees. And that's the purpose of this meeting. Not to vet every names on every list, but certainly we'll get back with you. We've given you a ballpark 529,000 impact, but I had Mark separate the buckets of money to show that the total impact would not be on the general fund. Right now it's $412,000 on the general fund. We are working on a recovery plan, a revenue recovery plan, and an expense reduction plan. The Finance Committee meeting will be held Monday at 2:00, and certainly the citizens can hear that as well. So we do have something to offset this amount to pay our employees, the ones who are being compromised at this time, for this hazardous pay. So you say you yield back, Commissioner Guider?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, could I say one more thing? So Jason and I have looked at this as far as the requirements from GEMA and FEMA. As of now, we do not feel that this could be reimbursable at some point by the state. I do expect that to change, but I think this decision would need to be made assuming that we would not be reimbursed. But we will do what we can to get reimbursed.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Vice Chairman Robinson, please.
Yeah, please.
You have
All right. Thank you for this moment. And I'll be very succinct and quick. And Madam Chair, you're right. 4 weeks ago, we did have this conversation as part of the broader decision by the county. This pandemic has caused us to move very fast in our decision making. And it's important that we don't look at things in silos or pockets. You always have to have a comprehensive view of what you're looking at, as well as the underlying facts. I appreciate your update earlier that dealt with our seniors and our homeless and the other areas that need to be addressed as well. So I'm saying that all together. I want to make sure, to Madam Guider's point, what we're voting on. The Board of Commissioners' role primarily is a check and balance, right? The administration puts forth something, whether it's in executive mode or whether it's in a normal mode. And we come alongside and we either up or down, we bounce it up or we bounce it down. And that's just how we look at it. You've got Madam Chair that leads the elephant, and then we come alongside the four legs and we prod it from the perspective that we see. That being said, as I look at this, I'm saying, okay, so this is just only for, I heard front line. My understanding was that it was going to be first responders.
First responders too.
All right. All right. So no, I got you. I'm just, that's an expansion beyond my perspective. When I thought occupational hazard in my mind, that those people that are really out there, but I recognize that the people do come into the courthouse. That's a shift for me. It makes me like, right? That's frontline is different than first responders. Right? Okay. I hear you, but that's not what I understood. But that's okay. Put a fork in that. But at the same point, I'm still concerned about the community at large. Right? You're asking me to drop $500,000 on the employees, which don't get me wrong, first responders, I got y'all. But I'm looking at the depth and the detail that went into this, but what about the other areas that need to be addressed? They were sort of just spoken through and passed through. It's like, hold on now, back up. Where's because I'm going to come back to where my vote was last time, which is, what about the seniors? I can't just let it be dismissed and that, okay, it's being taken care of. Well, what does that mean? Right? What about the homeless? Like, no, I need more detail, right? Because if I go in right now, my goal is, and again, I can't speak for my peers, which is like, I want to support and give you what you need. I want to appropriate all the buckets. I want to go in and be done. I want to be done. But I want to make sure that, okay, let's look at how much are y'all doing for seniors? How much are you doing for this? How much are you doing for this? Now, I said all that to say when we first started these conversations, and this goes back to perhaps when we first started asking, how much money would we be able to get reimbursed for? And we were thinking how much we want to get from the state. And I know Madam Chair submitted a formal letter to our delegation via one of our leaders, and somewhere between $1 to $2 million, that perhaps we could get reimbursed, right? That we were going to get appropriations for. There's a difference. There's direct appropriations down, and then there's obviously reimbursement. Those are two separate things. As we learned over the past 4 weeks, and especially if you looked at TV, and especially Governor Cuomo, like, no, the local ain't gonna get too much out of this. It was becoming pretty clear that we're not gonna get a direct appropriations as a county. We may be able to do reimbursement. But now what I'm hearing is that, and I'm glad that the county manager said what he had to say, that we may not get it. So I want my peers to understand very clearly, all right now, whatever this is, $500,000, $1 million hit, we're going to take this hit and it's unrecoverable. It's like discounted cash flows. You got to assume you're not going to get anything. Now, if you're able to pick that up, that's great. But recognizing, and I do believe it's the right thing to do. One more time, it's the right thing to do. But let's not be delusional about its impact. But we got to give to get. You got to give on this one. But I don't want to slide our hand with numbers. You guys know where I'm at with this. Like, no, just be honest with the public, recognizing that, okay, but if we're going to do the employees and help them, I want to make sure the community feels as though that they're part of this. So if I'm dropping $500,000 for the employees, well, how much are we giving to the seniors? How much are we giving to the homeless, or whatever buckets y'all going to use? But I need to have a balanced understanding. So as we package this and we appropriate this, and I agree with the county administrator, I want to decide today at this setting to give concurrence in whatever is needed so that Madam Chair and her administration can move forward. I'm in support. So I've given my statement. That's all I need to say right now. I'm going to allow my friends to colleagues to weigh in, and hopefully we can get to a resolution of this and a decision. I yield, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Robinson. Any other comment from the Board of Commissioners? Okay.
Chairman Jones, Commissioner Carthen.
Yeah. Hey.
So, hi. I did some research and I looked at what Mark sent, and you and I did speak on yesterday about what's what's kind of going on in our neighboring communities, and everybody is taking a different approach. There is no one size fits all communities. Douglas is different from Cobb, it's different from Carroll, it's different from, Fulton County and the likes. But one of the things that, as I was doing some research, the Heroes Fund is one of the funds that it's on Congress is putting together now. And I don't know if Marcus had a chance to look at the Heroes Fund, but that fund gives $25,000 to frontline workers. And it actually is the COVID-19 Heroes Funds. And so it's a $25,000 pandemic premium pay for essential frontline workers. And it is exactly for what we are trying to do today. So you estimate it out, we should be able to get this back. Like I said, they understand where we as counties and cities are. And in order to ensure that we reward and retain our frontline workers, because what they're estimating is that this just won't end, we say May, June, but they're estimating that this won't end in May or June. So they're trying to work out a plan where they can compensate, going into the months ahead, all the way up to December 31st, because they're anticipating another wave of this. And we don't know what that will look like, but they want to make sure that those who are on the front lines are getting some type of compensation. So in saying that, we possibly will be able to get this back with the COVID-19 Heroes Fund. So Mark, I hope that you take a look at that and position us to be able to get that incentive for our frontline workers. But to that point, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I sent out an email to all of my colleagues, and Commissioner Guider sent back a response, Commissioner Mitchell, and Commissioner Robinson. And from what they stated, I kind of came up with a resolution for us to take a look at, because, Commissioner Robinson made a good point. What are we doing? How are we appropriating for the community? Because we know at some point we got to open this back up. So we need to be planning for what's to come. How is that going to look in Douglas County? How have we stockpiled what we need in order to open this county back up? We don't want to be working from behind. We want to be in front of, because we see what working from behind feels like, when you don't have a test site, when you don't have test kits, when you're closing, places down, and people are trying to wonder, okay, how do we move? What's next to come? So we want to be in front of opening back up and not working from a deficit. So I compiled what I thought would be a great way to go forward and handle that. And I came up with 3 buckets in the resolution. It was a community stability needs, health stability needs, and first responders and frontline needs. And each of those buckets kind of addresses what we need. It has in it the seniors, the youth, the homeless, the transient families, our CSB, because we know that without CSB and mental health services and helping us to get through this, we may have a lot of people that are just stuck in their houses because they won't want to come out. So we need, those type of services in the county. We also need testing kits, site facilities. When we get ready to open up, we need deep cleaning of all of our public buildings. We need, those equipment for our frontline workers, and even possibly for all of our citizens to help them to reacclimate to coming back out and just, interacting with each other. We need stuff. So I would really like for us to consider looking at setting aside for these 3 buckets appropriations at least of $300,000 a piece. So that would take us maybe $950. But I really strongly want us to do this. I don't want us to keep working from behind. I really want us to get in front of a lot of things. And I think right now, doing that helps us to create that plan, helps us to see what's coming down the line, helps us to look at all the finances, all the buckets. I think you and Mark did a great job because, you know, you send general fund, E911, the UNIC fund. Great way to look at how we're going to do this. Now let's look at it in its totality so that we only have to come to the well one time and prepare moving forward so that we have a concrete plan. And I'll have my assistant, I think she's on the line, Christy, if you will send that to everybody so that you can take a look at it. I would love for us just to do this one time. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Very well said. Certainly, we want to look at it from a comprehensive perspective and in totality. Certainly, the time is now. The meeting was actually designed for the hazardous pay, but certainly we're at the table now, and we want to make sure that everything is addressed seamlessly as we move forward, because I like to say we have to go right now to make sure that we've taken care of the entire community, and we have in such a way, as Commissioner Robinson mentioned, we had to get out the door fast. This COVID-19 was a surprise to all of us. And again, I appreciate all the support and the bandwidth of thoughts from our Board of Commissioners as we go forward. Any other comments from any other commissioner? Commissioner Mitchell, you have one before we.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Mitchell. Mm-hmm.
I do, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions, maybe addressing Mark, and maybe you can help out. Okay, how long are we saying that this particular frontline hazardous pay are we looking at? So we can, that's my first question, I guess.
So from March 16th, to May 15th, which is 8 pay periods plus 4 or 5 days.
8 weeks.
So are we stating that we're hoping that it'll be done by then, or if this thing lingers, which I can almost guarantee you that this is not the end of it as of that time frame, but I'm willing to be hopeful. But if it continues, so are we saying that we're going to go back and continue this, or continue this to move in that direction, or we're done at 8 weeks?
Commissioner, I looked at other counties. Certainly, I can just use several models such as Cherokee, Augusta, and they put timelines on them. A few counties are going with 4 weeks. I've noticed some are going with 12 weeks. And then we landed right in the middle around 8 weeks because I'm sensitive to the dollars that are available. Certainly, thank you, Commissioner Carthen, for mentioning the HEROES Fund that's out there. So we wanted to pay close attention to that. So right now we're at 8 weeks, and we certainly could put with the potential to expand if needed, but wanted to pay homage to our frontline and first responders as we go forward, because it's the right thing to do, as Commissioner Robinson mentioned, and also just want to make sure that we are doing the same thing that other counties are doing for their employees at this time. But most counties have a time limit on it because they know that their general funds will not expand 6 to 7 months. We realize this is an ongoing situation, and we will adjust as we go forward. But today, we're just bringing forth to the Board of Commissioners 8 weeks. That's what I'm bringing forth.
Got it.
Yes.
And I guess going back to the categories of who are these individuals and which department are on the front line. Mark, can you make sure you give me that list once again? Like, okay, who are the frontline individuals? Because you work at the courthouse, which I thought was closed down to the public. They're considering that department as frontline because they're open partially, just for clarity.
So I'll give you a couple of examples, and what we were going to do is go through, like I said before, each one of these employees one by one. So clerk's office has to remain open, clerk of court. I'll give you an example. They are dealing with the public face to face every day. I'll give you another example. Landfill has 3 employees, so they're coming in contact, they have to take credit cards, which are plastic.
So let me stop
They
you.
take money.
Let me stop you there. So those, using that as an example, those 3 employees are the ones who will get the frontline pay, as to what I think Commissioner Guider was speaking of, or is it all 10 of the employees or 15 employees that are there?
No, as an example, for the landfill, they have 3 people that take money, take cards
Okay.
every day. That's anywhere from 200 to 800 people that they serve every day. So no, it would only be the 3.
Okay. So
And
you
that's just one example.
you isolating out those individuals that actually come in contact, not the entire department.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
One other quick question, and the reason I'm asking this is because I think we're going to miss a few folk, and we're going to have folk on there that probably not directly comes into contact, but they are considered in your list of frontline. Is the coroner included in that? Is that her team considered a frontline?
So she didn't respond to the emails we sent, but yes, she is included. I had included all 5 of her employees because they directly deal with.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I mean, well, you know what they do.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I just want to make sure that, because I think I'm proud of us as a commission that we are definitely being very sensitive to those individuals who are on the front line. But I caution us because I don't see that as what I call the fix for this particular spread of this pandemic. I think the need, to me, would be that we need to focus more on the need than to focus in on a, I guess, a pay type structure. I'm glad that Teridio came up with didn't realize about the heroes pay that we should look at. And we got to look at this as though we may not get this money back, but I'm confident that we probably will once we apply ourselves to those various grants and dollars that are out there from federal and state dollars. So I'm confident that we will get these, but I think we need to take at least a different approach. And that approach to me would be looking at more of a needs assessment, mask, test kits, and that would encompass everybody, not a select department. And then just also, I don't know if anybody had a chance to reach out to the sheriff to have any conversation with him, and I happened to speak with him and only to find that he's restructured his operation from a work schedule versus looking at a particular pay. So he questioned and said, I would probably rather do it the way I'm doing it with the pay. With the working structure versus some form of a hazardous type pay. And I was like, wow. And I said, we probably should take a hard look at that and see what that looks like and what that may or may not be versus taking this one way approach. I just think we're going to miss quite a few people in this whole makeup. I'm not against, some form of a hazardous pay, but I think it should be more of a hazardous need approach that would encompass the seniors, the citizens, the departments, and everybody. And I know we have a limited amount of funds, but I've been instrumental in, having conversation with Teridio Carthen and Vice Chair Robinson and others about this possibility of creating these buckets so we can have a wider net that we can cast and help within the community versus leaving out a sector of folks. But I think once we do whatever we do, we need to do it one big broad messaging and do it, as opposed to having to come back and look at this. But I'll say this much. This particular situation is not over somewhere late March, April, May, June. I think we're going to be in this for a moment. And I think we need to plan for the long run versus the sprint. And I'm a little concerned with sprinting into this versus having more dialect on a possible resolution that Ms. Carthen came up with. I think that's a broader approach and probably a more covering all bases approach versus covering a base approach. I'll yield there at this moment, but I still think we might want to just kind of pause before we go or take the resolution approach and create the buckets and figure out how much money that the buckets encompass. And Ms. Carthen, if you would, just how much in your resolution that the buckets total out to be, that approach versus the $500,000 that I think Mark and Madam Chair and others are speaking of. Just curious, and then I'll yield back.
So, without having spoken to David Corbin or Jennifer directly, I just looked at $350 for the first responders and frontline needs, $325 for the community stability needs, and another $325 for the health stability needs. Just because I knew that we were looking at the HEROES fund for the COVID-19, so that we know that they would not be left out. But the community stability needs and the health stability needs really helps us moving forward with a plan to help us to open back up, because we know, other states are already looking at what is their plan to do so. So we have to be thinking about the same thing. So, so that's why, I listened to what, everybody said, and I'm very conservative. I don't spend other people's money, just like I don't spend my own. I'm very conservative with what I, thought we could do. And after Jennifer did give me a 15% cut across the departments, just looking at what we had, that's how I came up with it now. That may or may not be the best, but I at least want us to have a conversation to go forward, because I know that, we could probably work with our nonprofit organizations. We can do public-private sectors. I know we can come up with ways that we can really help to benefit the entire community, and that includes our first responders. So that's why I wanted us to at least have that conversation. That's why I reached out to you guys in email to see what we could do.
Right. Okay, thank you. And I'll just add, and I'll close with this because I don't want to prolong this. So if I'm hearing just the rough numbers, Mark, I don't know if you kind of add that up. I think it came up to be roughly a meal, maybe a meal 0.2 or 1 or something like that. I'm not sure. But to me, that might be a wider cast, a bolder move versus kind of having to come back and make those other needs assessment type of a move. But I'm open. I'm glad we're having this dialogue, because I think we need to at least know what this really will look like in the end. But right now, I mean, I just don't want us to approach it from the mere fact of it's all over and done with in a month or two, and everybody will be paid and everybody will be happy and everybody will go home. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we got a lot more to go, a long way to go. This is going to be a long run. It's a marathon, guys, and it's not a sprint. So those are my few comments on this particular makeup, which I think it's a great idea. I just think we got to cast a wider net and to make sure that we encompass a lot more individuals and or people and or community and departments versus just a department type of an approach. So I look at it from a needs assessment versus just a dollars and cents of paying salaries assessment. So I'll yield there, and I'll look for some other comments. I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mark, and then I'll follow. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, well, I talked with Jason. We haven't received anything on the HEROES Fund yet, and I just Googled it. So from what I'm seeing, it hasn't been approved yet. It is in the works, but it has not been approved yet. It's proposed.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mark.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Guida. Yes.
Yes, we're saying we don't want to just cast a small net of money out here, but we're talking about throwing out a net for needs that there may not be the needs. We need to be very specific in what we spend our money for, or the taxpayers' money for. And this stipend or this for the first responders, we're doing it because of their commitment to our community. They've already committed to our community and they put themselves out there, and that benefits everybody that they've served. So I think for right now, I'm not opposed with going forward just with the first responders and frontline people. Maybe we ought to just limit it to that. But we need to sit down. We cannot solve the problems of this community because of this virus in a conference call. And we can't just throw money out to this sector or this sector or this sector without looking to see where the needs are, these specific needs. We have to be very, I mean, we know our revenues are going to be, well, we don't know what our revenues are going to be. They're going to be just way down. Let's just say that. We've had to stop some critical things that were going forward, but we've had to put a halt on it because we don't know if we're going to have the money to pay back our $25 million loan at the end of the year. We've got to wait. We need to confer with Mr. Corbin. He's got a lot more expertise than we do, but we can't just move forward and throw money in these buckets without knowing where the money's coming from. Mark just said that we don't know if we'll get any HERO funds, but let's deal with what we came here for just today. Now, if we want to limit it just to the fire department, the sheriff's office, or whatever, and the 911, so be it. But let's move forward with this, and let's sit down and all of us have input on where specifically the money's going to go, because we don't have money to play with. We all know that. And we can't just be throwing money out there unless we know there's a specific need and how we're going to spend it. You know, I don't know about y'all, but I've got people in my family that's living on a budget, a very tight budget right now. And we have to do that. We have to do that because we don't know what the revenues are going to be. We don't know what it's going to cost at the end of the road. We don't know a whole lot of factors, how long the economy is going to be at a standstill. We've got to also start concentrating on how we're going to open back up and making those plans, because that's the only way we're going to survive this, is getting back to work. And we just need to not throw too many things out there at one time right now. Let us pause, as Commissioner Mitchell said, but let us go forward with this. Is an emergency type thing. These people are working, they're putting themselves out there, they're coming in contact with people with a disease, an unseen enemy. But we need to go ahead with their stipend or their hazard pay, because we don't want to lose them to other counties for sure. So I appreciate everything that everybody said and everything, but let's not start opening the keg of worms until we've all sat down and discussed each and every item. But we've got to be specific with our expenditures. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, before you get your closing comment, because you're going to close this out. You get to close it out. You get to close it out. But can I just get one comment since Madam Gatter got the rebuttal?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't want to make this an ideological conversation. I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation about the citizens versus the employees. The employees only exist because of the citizens. I'm not going to sit here and say we're only going to do the employees or the honorables and the citizens are out here. You've had 3 or 4 weeks to ponder this. You've had time to debate, to have conversation with your peers. You got right now to make a decision. It needs to be inclusive, not exclusive. The needs are there. If you've been in tune with the citizens, if we really have done our jobs, then we know that there is a need out there. The buckets are clear. Our job is simply on this day is to appropriate. You don't have to spend it all. I believe that there is a cap. I think that $1 million is about the right bucket. Do it like the SPLOST, 60% is public safety, whatever that front line. The rest is the other 2 buckets and be done. Trust the administrator and Madam Chair to do what they need to do. Remember, she is in executive mode. She is in that moment. But at the same point, we're saying we're with her. And we want to make sure that we're appropriating it appropriately. But what I'm not going to do is get into, well, they got disease. Like, who? What? What are you saying? We're all the same people. I'm not going to get into that to say that, oh, we only should consider the employees versus the community at large as if like, well, what they have, like, okay, well, everybody's exposed. That I'm not going to do. That we cannot do. It's all in. We're all neighbors. We're all part of this, and we only exist because of it. But I'm not going to get into this exclusionary ideology where we're going, no, now or nothing. Buckets, all buckets or none. But it ain't going to be no, okay, this one has a superiority over that. We all know that we're sacrificial and we're serving. And I'm going to take care of that front. I got that. But to think that the citizens are not, why I got to keep debating about citizens? They're out there saying, I got a need. They're exposed as well. They're trying to provide value as well. No, that right there, I'm going to deal with my rebuttal. That was long enough, but you guys get my point. All in, cap it at $1 million. Y'all figure out how y'all want to do it. Madam Chair gets 50 to 60% for public safety. Keep this simple. And y'all work this out. This is just concurring, right? This really is not a debate, but I don't think we should delay. And I think we're intelligent enough. And I personally don't need Corbin to weigh in on what I see here. So I appreciate it. I yield, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. I'm going to close it up. But this meeting, the purpose of this meeting today was regarding hazardous pay. Certainly on Monday, we have Ray Lightford coming to us regarding mental health, and that is on our agenda number 1 for our Board of Commissioners work session. So we could talk about that mental health component, because certainly we're not putting a deaf ear on that. And then we will determine, he will be bringing forth to the Board of Commissioners a projected number, because we need some support on that end as well. So that is coming before the Board of Commissioners. I just mentioned earlier about our seniors. I serve on the Senior and Aging Board for ARC and represent Douglas County, and my seniors are number 1. Put them at the top of the list. I got some funding coming down. Certainly we can carve out more additional funding as we meet on Tuesday. We can look at those 2 buckets, but today I wanted to focus on my agenda. Let me also mention that I have had a conversation, Commissioner Mitchell, with Sheriff Pound, spoke with him yesterday briefly. He talked about his process that he have in place. But once we talked about the hazardous pay, he said he agreed that he agreed and thought that it was a good idea for his first responders, which is the Sheriff Department. I did ask Chief Spencer, and I invited Chief Spencer and also Jason Mulholland, and then also Greg Whitaker, and also Ken Connor on the call, so they could just kind of talk about this hazardous pay. I know I heard you, Commissioner Robinson, you talked about all or nothing today. Certainly it's going to be done. I'm not a closed-minded leader. I have definitely stepped out front for our citizens. Number 1, by making sure that they're, number 1, that water and electricity and phones are not being cut off. That's critical. Those are things that they have to survive with. Making sure that our homeless, number 1, have food and hand sanitizers. So I have not put a deaf ear, but certainly would want to sit down on Monday. We have a Board of Commissioners meeting, work session on Monday. And then also we have a Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, and certainly would be willing to move forward with those 2 other buckets that Commissioner Carthen mentioned. We just need to look at the dollars, so to give us a little more time, because we hadn't crunched any numbers on those buckets. But I know she has a resolution. I respect you, Commissioner Carthen, with your resolution. But the purpose of this meeting, and that's why I just wanted to make sure we didn't get sidetracked. I want to stay focused on what we're here for today. And also, Mark, have you add on the agenda for Monday? We already have CSB added. And for some discussion for number 1, those 2 buckets that Commissioner Carthen has brought forth. Commissioner Carthen, I know you're still on the line. Your resolution that you have, I would like to bring that resolution before the work session on Monday. and to be discussed about the 2 additional buckets that you would like to bring forth. And I certainly am in total agreement with you. But I ask this board to work with me today and just focus on the issue at hand. I came for one simple vote or concurrence today. And if you could just stay with me, I promise you that I will make sure that on Monday and Tuesday, we address those other 2 items or 2 buckets that we have just discussed. With that being said, Board of Commissioners, if you could just work with me today. That was the purpose of the meeting. I didn't want to certainly cause a commotion today, but I'm focusing on one issue at a time. I have Chief Spencer on the phone, and Chief Spencer, if you could chime in and just talk about it. I just want to, and we certainly are not just focused on employees. That is not what my intent is. I'm focused on the entire Douglas County. And I have to cast a wide net in my position, and I realize that. So I'm for everybody. That's why I've inundated this county with all types of literature, communication. I know at the end of the day, all of us know that funding is a problem all over this United States. But I'm working and chiseling to make sure that Douglas County we get our fair share. Chief, would you just chime in and just say why this is important to you, this hazardous pay, and then Chief Connor, if you're on the line. Chief Spencer, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Can you why is this pay so important for your staff as the first responders here in Douglas County? I just asking, you don't have to dialogue long, and you can move on, and I'll ask Connor, and then and I'm certainly call for a vote if my commissioners will work with me today.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, thank all the commissioners for taking this under consideration. We certainly appreciate it. What's important to our first responders is we're actually out there dealing with the potential COVID patients. Every time we go out, we have to suit up. We have to put our mask, our face shields, our gowns, our gloves, and the potential exposure, even though we are protected, we're having to reuse some of our personal protective gear now because of some of the shortages that we're experiencing nationwide. So that's an issue as well. One of the big things is, when our guys go home the next morning, every one of them that I know of have a routine. We don't allow them to wear their uniforms to work. They leave their uniforms at work. They wash them in the fire stations. They bring an extra pair of clothes and shoes. They don't go past a certain point in the fire station with their uniform boots on. They take them off, put on another pair of shoes just to walk in the stations. So some of we're doing everything we can to lessen the chance of exposure, but there's just no way we can eliminate all of it. So that's why the first responders that are out there face to face dealing with them, and we have no choice. We took an oath to serve our citizens, and that's what we're doing. And this is very much appreciated. But we really are in harm's way. A lot of our folks are. So we just appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Chief Connors, Deputy Chief, are you on the line? I'm assuming not.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Deputy Chief, you have any, just if you could just respond just to say why this is important, this moment, so I can please move on with my Board of Commissioners and see if they would actually work with me on this vote today.
Well, I guess the bottom line is, and the fire department has the ability to know what they're going to. They're able to suit up. Our deputies, can be driving down the road. Next thing you know, they're into something. They don't have the luxury of being able to wear all the equipment or be prepared to go into it. So, they are equal as important as we are. But some of the officers, especially the ones that are on patrol, don't have that luxury to, you can't, we got a lot of stuff we wear, and it's, it's different times. We're dealing with it in certain ways, but I would ask that you consider most all of the employees that are considered essential that are working behind the scenes because this motor's got many gears. Just as you've included dispatchers, we appreciate that. The patrol deputies can't function without them. We've got other people in positions that may not come directly in contact with the public, but they're the wheels turning in the background that you don't see. Our maintenance people that's keeping the facility running, and our jailers that are back there with the inmates. And so I just ask you to consider not only with the sheriff's office and the fire department, but other county employees that are the bare necessities that are running the county as we speak. I'm here at work. There's a number of people here at work, and we've been able to manage and try to give some relief to the frontline officers that are on patrol and rotating them out and giving them some time off as others sit at home and do what they can from home. But we appreciate y'all considering this, and I wish you could consider those things as well as the people that's behind the scenes that are working. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you so much, Deputy Chief Connors. And it's last but not least is Director Whitaker on the phone regarding your dispatchers, both, and I know the Sheriff Department has been picked up as well, but our dispatchers, Board of Commissioners, are like air traffic controllers. And I don't know how many air traffic controllers, they have the most stressful jobs in the United States, but we can't live without our air traffic controllers because they're the ones that land the plane. Same thing here for our first responders, our E911. They're driving, they're triaging, they're doing everything on the phone, which is a horrific experience for most that's been aligned with that medical piece. And I had to wrap my mind around dispatchers, but after sitting down, thinking about and looking at the correlation between air traffic controllers and dispatchers, there's a lot of similarities because you're driving from the computer, you're talking, and nothing happens without them actually navigating the entire process. So, Director Whitaker, if you could just say why this is important to you and your staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Board. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Both chiefs, they sort of echoed what I wanted to say. I'll just sort of reiterate that in my own words. There's a lot of gears to this engine. The dispatchers, both 911 and the Sheriff's Office, even though they're behind the scenes, they are the leading first responders. It all starts here. Madam Chair, you're talking about the stress in the room. Since mid-March, there's been a lot of changes in dispatch, people calling dispatch for everything. There's numbers out there, there's publications. The communication department has put a lot of numbers out there for public health. But when citizens don't know what else to do, they call the dispatcher, they call 911, they call the sheriff's dispatchers. And these people are having to make decisions for families daily. They are in the trenches, even though and they do come in contact with each other in the dispatch room too. We isolate as much as we can, but there's no way that they can do their jobs without getting close to each other and having to pass off information and different equipment issues. The stress in the room when you get COVID calls, you're not just dealing with the patient. And by the way, we're triaging and asking screening questions of each and every call we get for the public safety responders. We're dealing with the whole family, and you've got fear, and you've got families that don't know what to do, and for a lot of them, that's where it starts with the dispatcher. So, as it's been said, they may not be out there physically coming in contact with the public, but they are coming in contact with the public, and they've stepped up. They've done an excellent job. They've been here. We've canceled their leave. They've not complained at all. The citizens really, not only here, but for the sheriff's office, I can speak that they are doing yeoman's work every day for the citizens of Douglas County. And I do appreciate y'all considering the dispatchers in this hazardous duty pay, because they are the beginning of this process. It all starts here, and they have done an outstanding job, and thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted the Board of Commissioners just to kind of hear some of your reasoning and the rationale for just in speaking to why you think this hazardous pay or for our frontline and first responders are important. I heard you loud and clear, Chief, Deputy Chief Connors. However, again, you submitted the list to Mark Teal, so I don't know if we need to massage your list anymore. So I don't want it to be a false impression given to our citizens of Douglas County that we did not approach our leadership or our leadership team and allow them to tell us who is exposed, who's not exposed. And I guess right now it might have been not have been defined as well, but you mentioned a few more folks and you may need to get those names. I'm not sure if it's a litany of employees, but we do have a lot of employees that are working from home. I've made a lot of concessions. A lot of people don't have a lot of work to do from home, but I've done the best I have that I can do right now to allow everybody to stay employed. So what I don't want to do is take advantage of the dollars that we have available. This is again, I want to make sure that we pay respect, not necessarily respect, because I want to pay respect to all our citizens and all our employees, but we want to focus on those employees that are being affected at this moment directly with COVID-19. So Mark, I encourage you to have a little more dialogue with Chief, Deputy Chief, to just make sure that we didn't miss anybody that he felt that is very important during this time frame. But my purpose today is to come before the Board of Commissioners and ask about the $200 per week for an 8-week period. But Board of Commissioners, I also want to see if I could just gain
Madam
some
Chair,
consensus.
per pay period.
Yeah, pay period. I'm so sorry. I want to gain consensus from the Board of Commissioners. Certainly, if you would work with me, Commissioner Carthen, if you could send the, we have our meeting on Monday, April the 20th, which is this coming Monday. If you could send the resolution, allow us to look at it so we'll be prepared for our work session. I want to provide as much time as possible for all of us to sit down and talk about those other two buckets of money that you're interested in or we're interested in, and we could take a vote on Tuesday for our Board of Commissioners meeting. The purpose of the meeting is for the hazardous pay, and I really just was hoping that that was the direction we could go in as a team and work in a unified manner. At this time, I'll call the question. Board of Commissioners, yes,
No,
Commissioner Mitchell.
Go ahead.
No, you want me to call? Okay.
No, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I'm messing up here. I'm just really, it's good to hear from our department heads and those that are on the front line and those that are not quite on the front line, but will probably get this pay, which, okay, I get that part. I'm confident in the resolution side of looking at this holistic approach. And I don't think we should rush through this so we can get it right one time. And what I mean by that is, I think the focus again should be on the needs assessment and take that holistic type of approach, casting a bigger net. And I'm not going to get into a long dialogue, but I think we need to all have dialogue, because I would like to have had more dialogue even on this approach as opposed to where we are now. So my thoughts are, why don't we look at this? We got a meeting coming up on Monday. Why don't we take all of this and put it together and come up with the right way of taking this journey of trying to support not only staff, not only the seniors, not only the community, but we have a broader, great approach. And the dollars may be $1 million, or it may be strictly the 500,000. I'm not sure of the amount, but I think we can kind of do make a better move and have a bigger and a better impact if we just take the time and get it right the first time, as opposed to trying to get something done now. I feel more confident in the several buckets that we've designed to make this thing come together and make it work, and it be a holistic approach versus trying to just do one thing now and do another thing later. But that's just my take on it. But I would hope that we pause and say, you know what, let's look at it on Monday and be ready to vote on it on Tuesday. So now everybody can have a chance to at least look over all the information on the HEROES approach to the state and federal dollars and anything else that may be out there that we may have accessibility to. And it may be zero, but at least we'll have time to make sure that whatever decision that we make is in the best interest of the entire community and department, versus just, not that our front line or our department heads are not and need this or in the best interest to get this. But I just think we need to probably pause and look at it on Monday, discuss it again on Monday, be ready to vote on Tuesday with all the information, so it won't be misconstrued as though it's about the seniors or it's about the employees or it's about whom. It's about this virus being attacked and flattening the curve so that we can kind of make sure that everybody is safe. So, but again, I'm just a little weary of just doing it now. But that's just me. So I'll yield back, and you can go ahead and call the question, I guess, if you like.
Commissioner Mitchell, let me just, let me certainly follow up with Mark. Mark, I believe the pay period is this week is the week for the pay period. We were trying to get this pressed through because of the pay period reasons. Of course, it certainly will push the actual payout a little further. Is that true or not? If not, we can wait. I'm certainly oblivious of waiting. I'm certainly, I love to compromise. That's important to me, but I just want to make sure. Tell me about the pay period. What type of effect? That's the reason why we're pushing it through today, Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, this is the pay period. Is this? We submit our time this week.
So that was just one of the reasons, Commissioner Mitchell, that I wanted to proceed with today. But if not, it'll be the next opportunity for this pay to be awarded would be when, Mark? Would it be May 1st or?
The check would be 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Yes.
If my math is correct.
Okay. And so that was one of the reasons, Commissioner. I mean, I know I saw the 20th, the pay period, but I just wanted to let you know. I know we have a meeting on Monday, the 20th, but that's why I called a special call meeting, because of the way the pay period falls. I was trying to get everything processed.
Yeah,
Right.
It'd be May 7th. If we held off, it'd be May 7th.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't mean, but just one more addition to that, Madam Chair, to address that part which you just stated. So, but just to say, if we did it today and we missed the pay period, and got to the pay period, or we did it Monday and missed the pay period, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about retro in this from a time period back anyway, correct? Mark, am I correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So we're still retroing it. So we're if you're saying we're behind, we are behind, and probably should have did this 5 weeks ago. However, Monday delay would only delay it to that degree of having a great discussion as to why and or why not, or should we include all the buckets or not any of the buckets. And then I think so doing it on Monday, to me, I don't see a huge problem with, other than it didn't make the pay period. But if that's the only reasoning, then I don't think that would be a major catastrophe versus getting it right, as Commissioner Guider stated. Let's do it right first. So, but that's me, and I yield. Okay.
Just other commissioners. Certainly, Commissioner Mitchell, you certainly can call a motion to table if that's something that you feel so strongly about. Board of Commissioners, any other comments before I just call for a motion or table?
Sure.
Vice Chairman Robinson, I believe that's you.
Yep, it is. All right. So put my glasses back on. I guess I need them now. All right. So good conversation. Duly noted. And I want the public to understand that we're behind Madam Chair 100%, and we're being thoughtful. She's having to carry a huge burden out there by herself. So this is important. She's carrying a lot of weight. So the fact that we were able to go away on our own and do our own independent research and try to collaborate independently of her, I thought that was meritorious on us. Like, okay, guys, let's be thoughtful about this. I know she's pressed for it. We get it. We get she's got to keep this ship moving. Keep going. But at the same point, it's our job to see some things while she's so heads down, like there's other aspects that she not have as much time to focus on. We're closer. Think about home rule. We're district. We know what each one of our district and what our citizens are saying to us. She has a whole view of the whole county, but we're more intimate for each of our districts. So our voice matters. When we're saying, okay, we got you. Employees, keep that administration, we got it. But these other things matter as well. It's not an either or, it's both. And we're saying, okay, we got you. You get it. But we think this is important too, for at least for my vote. These other things have to be addressed because it wasn't like I didn't bring it up 3 weeks ago. So while I say we need to take time, well, what were we doing during that time period? One more time, this thing is moving fast. If we're crunching numbers on this, we're going to crunch numbers on everything else. I'm saying, let's not make this hard. Like, I think we're all on the same page. I think it's how we handle this parliamentary play right here. I would say you could handle it a number of ways. You can simply just not call the question. We can wait until, just adjourn the meeting and wait until Monday we pick it back up. And obviously you can call a question or somebody can make a motion for a series of things. But I think we want to get to a unanimous one way versus anything that could be other than that. And I think what I'm hearing is a will that says, well, we want all voices to matter. It can't just be one voice. Everybody needs to weigh in on this. And what we're saying is that, okay, we got it. We're going to give you a bucket of money because, again, you're in executive mode. Here's $1 million. Here's your percentages like SPLOS. Handle it. Whatever your employees, we got it. You don't have to sell us on having the 3 generals come forward. It's like, oh, we already got you. Didn't have to have that conversation, but we appreciate it. We get it. We're just saying no more than President Trump came out. Well, I think it's going to be $1 trillion. And Congress said, no, that ain't enough. $2 trillion. Congress' voice mattered. Our voice matters. So we're saying, we got you. We're going to give you what you need. But I think what you're hearing is that, okay, but it can't just be allowed for the sake of the employees and not the public. I think that sentiment that got introduced was like, no, that's not going to happen. I would vote against anything that would say, okay, we got to go with the employees because the citizens they got disease or they've got this, like as if we didn't have it. Or if we're not out there and that we're not maybe being a silent carrier or like, don't do that. I don't want to be a decision about that. Now, that was offensive. But for anything else, I'm okay. And I yield, but I'm going to let you make the call. But I'm for it. I'm 100 staff. I got y'all. I think in essence, but we want to make this more comprehensive. Madam Chair, we just want to give you what you need and get out the way. That's what we're saying. So you can either take the $1 million now in buckets and be done. I mean, we can make the resolution right here. We can pass the motion and say, here's the bucket of money. It doesn't have to be the literal words, guys. Y'all know how to do this. Or if y'all want to go through the long motions of, well, let's read the words, then that's fine. I say appropriate $1 million. I said you got these 3 buckets, 60% is the front line, then 20 and 20, there's your 100%, and be done. Y'all work out the rest in the details. She's in executive mode. We don't have to make this hard. I yield.
Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Guider. There you go.
Yes, if this is tabled until Monday, I would ask that a presentation be done spelling out the details of each bucket. I want to know where the money is going, where the need is. I don't want to just say, here's $500,000, go spend it. I want to know what the details are and what the needs are specifically. So if we could have a presentation done Monday at the work session, that would be nice. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. That would be the intent, to have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. So Commissioner Carthen, I believe you had the proposal in place. So it could be detailed. The things that you all had, certainly I want to make it very clear, 2 things. I'm not just all focused on employees, and I don't want that to be the narrative for me as the chairman of this county. I'm focused on everybody in this county, all the citizens. So I've heard that several times, which is very disturbing to me because my focus is on everybody in this county. And I've made it very clear, and I lead by example, and it shows that. So I don't want to keep hammering. I will agree that we can wait. Monday, I believe in compromising, but of course, I don't want to distort who I am by saying, we keep saying I'm focusing on employees. I came with a certain agenda today. One thing that was specific was hazardous pay for our employees. Board of Commissioners, you had enough time to call me and say, I want to add this today. My meeting has again been derailed. I don't, and again, it's to me is derailed because I felt I was here for one thing, hazardous pay. But as a leader of this county, I want to look again. We were gonna cast a wider net. We were gonna continue on Monday, the 20th. We were talking about mental health. I already have Ray Lightfoot on the agenda. I got Dr. Gilchrist working on this huge federal grant that's coming down for our seniors. So I don't want to send that message, and the citizens are very aware of what I'm doing. So I don't want to keep minimizing Ramona Jackson Jones, and we won't do that today. But what we will do, I will compromise. So I will sit down, and what I'll do is compromise. And so I won't even call a question, but I want us to be prepared. I want us to be calculated and intentional on Monday so we can move forward, because I really want to get these things done. The pay for the employees will be delayed by May 7th. And I heard one commissioner said it should have been done. Commissioner, to be honest with you, we are ahead of the curve. A lot of counties haven't done a thing yet. They're still working on it, just like we are. So I want to change that narrative as well. So we are ahead of the curve. So with that being said, Board of Commissioners, if there's no other discussion, I will just allow this meeting. Do I need to call a question to table the meeting, or?
Just
So
adjourn.
this meeting is tabled, and we will adjourn, and I look forward to Monday so we can move forward and approve what we need to do to get approval for all 3 buckets. But those buckets need to be calculated. We need all the numbers available, because our budget, again, we need to be sensitive. We got 2 things that's happening on Monday, this coming Monday. We have a finance meeting, and that meeting will detail revenue recovery, because we have to have a recovery plan, because we know what's coming down the pike, and a huge expense reduction plan. So I'm hoping that the things that we're bringing to the table will be some of the things that will offset some of the expenses that we have, because we got a couple of things such as BRs and things that we have to freeze. Hiring, we have to freeze our hiring. So I just don't want us to get ahead of ourselves. Again, as my good friend Cuomo said, we certainly don't want to allow our emotions to get ahead of logic. So we got to think this thing through, because I don't want to make a decision so quickly and then we're all backpedaling. Again, Mark, if you could certainly research HEROES for me to see. I looked at it briefly yesterday, and it's focusing mainly on EMS, the emergency management services, which are your paramedics and things of that sort. So it doesn't say specifically for all first responders. So if you could just please drill down on that document for me, Mark, and just give me some clear information. So that will allow us to know which direction we have to go on Monday. Board of Commissioners, if there's nothing else, we will certainly table this issue into Monday, and we'll be prepared to vote on Tuesday. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great day. Thank you.